I'm Pastor Chavaleh, and I'm very glad to welcome you this morning virtually to Mount Cross. And I have many thanks for Pastor Glenn Peterson, who did the devotional last Thursday while I was away at a synod retreat, and very, very much appreciate all of the varied leadership here at Mount Cross, and I hope that you do too. Today I have some thoughts on a section of the Gospel of Luke, sometimes called the parable of the persistent widow. This is Luke chapter 18, beginning in verse 1. He writes, "Then Jesus told them a parable about their need to pray always and not to lose heart. He said, 'In a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor had respect for people. In that city there was a widow who kept coming to him and saying, "Grant me justice against my accuser." For a while he refused, but later he said to himself, "Though I have no fear of God and no respect for anyone, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will grant her justice so that she may not wear me out by continually coming." And the Lord said, "Listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God grant justice to his chosen ones who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long in helping them? I tell you, he will quickly grant justice to them. And yet, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?" I've been reading a book this week by an author whose name I have not checked the pronunciation on, Mai-Anh Tran, called "Reset the Heart: Unlearning Violence and Relearning Hope." It is a wonderful and difficult book. This book is her response to the question, what does it mean to educate for faith in a world marked by violence? Today, on many of our minds, is the beginning to a wave of violence in the Middle East that we cannot see the end of or the solution to. The hurt is deep, the retribution excessive, the cost incredibly high in terms of precious and unique human lives. So Mai-Anh Tran asks, what is prayer in light of the human impulse to repair? John Shelby Spong draws a distinction between praying and saying prayers in his book, Honest Prayer. In the book, this theologian admits that he struggles with prayer. He is drawn by its power, he says, yet repelled by its forms. Along with other theologians and mystics, he reminds us that prayer is not what one says. Sometimes prayer is what one does. If prayer is traditionally understood as a human attempt to make contact with God, for Spong, God is not somewhere out there or up there in the nebulous skies. God is found in life, not beyond life. And therefore, in his words, prayer is at its most fundamental an attempt to open us up to the transcendent and holy as we face this world and act in this world. Other theologians have put it many other ways. Theologian Douglas John Hall says prayer is thinking, and we might add acting, your way into God's world. Maria Harris said prayer is a characteristic set of forms for addressing the mystery of God, and that prayer fosters our way of being in the world before God. Prayer is a spirituality of deep communion with God and the world, not separate, together. Rabbi Abraham Heschel said that the life of faith is praying with our feet. And the Bible is full of stories of people praying with their feet, including perhaps this parable of the persistent widow. She is annoyingly incessant in her demands for justice, so much that this judge, who has no fear or respect for God or people, just finally gives in. The New Interpreter Study Bible points out a closer translation that might show the outrageous nature of this widow's persistence. It reads, "I will grant her justice, says the judge, so that she may not finally come and slap me in the face." Refusing to accept what this system that she's in dictates as her faith, relentless in the pursuit of some response. She is an example of what it means to pray, a reminder that prayer is an active pursuit of justice. And she's a model of how tenacious faith is a verb and not a noun. Concluding the parable, Jesus wonders at the end of the day, at the end of time, will there be faith like this on earth? I would like to answer yes. Because Jesus' parable about the persistent widow, it asks questions about redeemability. Questions that we may ask when standing in the thick of ruins. What earthly difference can Jesus make here? But maybe redemption is God's work of making up for the world's bad performances. It's God's work of relieving and bailing and extracting and freeing persons from bondage to sin. Redemption is God's fulfillment of the promises made to humankind, even when the world fails to deliver. The persistent widow, and maybe Jesus himself, illustrate for us a tenacious faith in the repairability and redeemability of this good world. It takes time, and it has fits and stops, and maybe we are part of a future that we will not see realized. The redemption can sometimes appear dim and foggy when we don't have any idea of what the solution is or the end is. But we learn to persist toward resurrection. We are reminded that we are called to make redemptive difference in the world, however the opportunities present themselves in front of us and in prayer. May we be as annoying as Jesus' persistent widow. Amen.